Guys, Boxing Gossip here on a Monday night. It is 8 o'clock and I am running this till 9 o'clock tonight. So we are getting the Monday live shows with the option to call in back up and running as promised. Let me just do a quick check to make sure we have gone live, and it appears we're up and running. I've got Peter and I've got Tom in the chat. Good evening to both of you. Perhaps one of you could just drop something in the chat to let me know what the sound's like. Hopefully it's coming through loud and clear. Just bear with me for 2 ticks. So there wasn't too much boxing this weekend. It's not too much stuff to mention. However, there were a few things that I was overly keen to talk about, actually. Just before I get into it, I'll just say in advance, just in case, apparently the sound's coming through good, so cheers guys. Just in case anyone wants to tune into the podcast this week, and this week alone, we're going to do the podcast on Thursday night as opposed to Wednesday night. So if you're someone who tunes in to watch the podcast, that's much appreciated. Please don't be hanging around YouTube waiting for us to go live on a Wednesday night. It will be Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. But apart from this week, it will return to Wednesdays as per normal. So, yeah, this is the show where anyone can call in. I'm going to get Skype up and running straight away so that we can maximize the amount of callers who do call in, if anyone wants to call in. So my Skype is now up and running. If anyone wants to call in, feel free to do so from now onwards, really. And we will get you straight away live and straight away on the channel. Lots to discuss, and we're certainly not going to restrict topics tonight. You know, if there's anything you want to ask, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to get off your chest, within reason. You know, we don't want to hear about your ex-wife or, you know, that sort of thing, or your boss at work. But, you know, if it's boxing related, we're good. We're not going to keep it too rigid. If nobody does call in, or if it takes a little while for anyone to call in, what we'll do is we'll go to the chat. We'll take comments from the chat, but we'll always give priority to the people who are calling in live. So we got Paul who's joined in the chat. Evening, Paul. And there's a lot to talk about in boxing at present. I'm going to start off very briefly, and I won't give this too much time, but I'm going to just mention that Tepper returned to action this weekend, which was a surprise to many, including myself, who had incorrectly assumed that Tepper would be serving a long ban for his failed drugs test after his devastating and career-threatening knockouts of the likes of Martin Rogan, Michael Sprott and David Price. But Tepper returned to action to face journeyman Derek Rossi this weekend. And although I haven't watched the fight, Tepper won. Good evening, Ryan. Tepper won in a 10-round fight, went the distance, and a lot of the judges caused some real problems, actually. You know, a lot of the judges had Derek Rossi causing some real problems. I think one of them scored it 7 rounds to 3. Let me, I've just got Tom calling in, so let me start by getting Tom on the line. Tom, how you doing?
Evening, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, mate. How you getting on?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah. All good. What's going on in the world of boxing then, Tom?
I think this week it's more to do with what hasn't happened in regards to fights being made. The two that stand out are Brook Vargas and Eubank Jr, Golovkin.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've both been on the horizon for a long time, but they haven't actually been made, have they?
Yeah, I've seen Brook and Vargas have been trading blows on Twitter. I saw an IFL interview with Eddie Hearn saying it was all but done, but I'm quite surprised that fight's not been happened. I'm a bit sceptical of whether they'd shift tickets for Bramall Lane. I know my mate went to the Bizier fight and he's saying there was a lot of empty seats there. A lot of empty seats.
Yeah, I think that's right, mate. And I also think the way they're going to fund it is by tickets and by pay-per-view. And I just don't see Kell Brook as a certainty for either. You know, Brook is a very good fighter, but he's not the most exciting personality. He doesn't appear, to my eye, to have the biggest fan base. And I'm slightly concerned as to, you know, the economics of that fight. It appears that the reason the fight isn't happening could potentially be on Kell Brook's side because he wants more money.
Well, you thought in the position Brook's been in the last 2 years, his career's pretty much on a business front stagnated. You'd have thought he would have been jumping through hoops to get this fight made, especially at Bramall Lane.
Yeah, I think the rumour is, and this is, I don't have this confirmed, but the rumour is that Vargas was offered $1.7 million and an extra $500,000 to his promoters, or $400,000 to his promoters. So 2.1 or 2.2 in total going to Vargas's side. And apparently Kell Brook's side was actually less than that. So he's creating a fuss now and asking for more money. And I can understand why he's doing that.
Yeah.
Is he going to sell the tickets? Is he going to sell the pay-per-views to justify it?
Well, surely it's not going to be a pay-per-view if they sell it, if they get the fight made. Surely not.
Oh, definitely, mate. Yeah. There's no way they'll be able to get that revenue without the pay-per-view model. So
that's as far as pay-per-view goes. I'm guessing that Joshua is going to be pay-per-view in November. I'm assuming that Eubank Jr, if it's ever made, will be pay-per-view. Do you think they can get away with another 3 this year?
No, I don't, actually. I think Eddie Hearn can only make one of those 2 for that reason. Don't forget you got a Fury Klitschko potentially to be rescheduled for late October as well. So I think it's only one of those 2, mate. And I think that, if I'm honest, Eubank Golovkin by far the bigger fight.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Do you think that? Would you have any figures on the Joshua pay-per-view?
I received a few tweets which told me it did circa 400,000, but that is very unconfirmed.
Yeah, that's it. If those figures are anywhere near true, that's incredible for the level of the fight. I mean, I know Golovkin's been shifting about 150,000 in the US, and I know Canelo Alvarez has been. I think him and Khan struggled as well with their recent pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, you're right. I think that the Joshua versus White fight did about 450, and I think Martin did something similar. And as I say, I think I've heard Brazil did just over 400 or something of that nature. So, yeah, he's obviously already a big pay-per-view star. I mean, 400,000 is big time in our market. You'd think.
I know it's a matter of principle with Brooks seemingly being the fighter with more stature, but I think he needs to look at where his career's gone in the last 2 years. It's basically gone nowhere, has it? It's fighting the likes of Jojo, Dan and Bizier, which I understand have been mandatories. I think he needs to get himself across to America and maybe not looking at Errol Spence Jr., but there's an absolute number of names there that he could have big fights with and get a bigger paycheck.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually think it may even be worse for Kell Brook if the Vargas fight does get made. So I think it's got the potential to be humiliating. He'll have to take less money than Vargas. I think there'll be loads of empty seats, and I think the pay-per-view figures will potentially be embarrassing,
There's also the option of maybe fighting Alvarez as well, if Brook decides to step up. I don't know if he's struggling to make the weight at welterweight, but he's huge for 147.
And he blows up as well massively, doesn't he? Which doesn't help. Yeah. I think if the Alvarez fight is there, it's interesting. Like potentially, that's not a fight that you'd rule Kell Brook out of either, is it?
Sorry, mate, it's still there.
It's not a fight that you'd say Brook's got no chance in either. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but you wouldn't rule him out.
With the other fight as well, Eubank Jr and Golovkin. Now, on the business side, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, that's 500,000 pay-per-views, sold-out stadium, the rest. But on boxing terms, it stepped up to Billy Joe Saunders. But after that, you look at his resume. I think it was Chudinov, Tony Jetta, Nick Blackwell and Tom Doran. Where do the Eubanks think that they can get away with stepping in with someone like Golovkin again and expect to put up a reasonable show? I mean, he's not even bothered with the European/fringe level.
I mean, it kind of shows the power of, how marketable someone is, isn't it? Because, I mean, he's saying he wants to fight, and even though he hasn't taken those European level fights, as you say, he can kind of walk straight into it. And I guess that's, he is a very marketable guy. He's a very entertaining fighter, and it's allowed them to sort of get themselves in that position. Whether it's a good thing to be in that position or not is debatable, I guess.
Yeah, it's incredible when you see the likes of where the career path Eubank Jr has gone down, and Billy Joe Saunders are differing fortunes. You've got Billy Joe Saunders, who's probably twice a boxing talent yet. He just is in the wilderness, really.
Yeah. I mean, I heard he's going to fight on the Liam Smith Canelo undercard today. That seems to be the latest for him. Yeah, but Eubank Jr., whether you like him or not as a boxer, I mean, the guy is an incredible showman, and he's got the potential to be, I'd say, after Anthony Joshua, the second biggest star in this country. Definitely, he's so marketable, isn't he? Yeah,
you can't take your eyes off him. Look, I mean, you can either be a loved fighter or a hated fighter, but just don't be a boring fighter.
This is it. Yeah. And he will, even though the Golovkin fight, obviously Golovkin is going to be an overwhelming favourite to win that fight, but it would be total can't miss entertainment, wouldn't it? Because Eubank Jr., his style of fighting and the way he behaves when he's in there is just, you can't take your eyes off him, as you say.
Yeah, it'll be a fantastic matchup, but I don't think it'll end well for Eubank, but you can't fault him. I mean, whether the fight's made or not, they're using the name of Golovkin well, they're building themselves up well. You can't fault him in that respect, but personally, I'd like to see him, the boxing ability, just go through the motions, build himself up through European fringe title and get himself. I mean, to be fair, I think he's a big middleweight as well. I think he naturally needs to be looking at moving up sooner rather than later. I think he struggled at the weight in the Doran fight. Did he weigh in a few ounces over? He weighed in a few ounces over.
He also weighed in overweight for the Spike O'Sullivan fight, but part of me thinks that's because Eubank is always late for the weigh-ins. I don't know if you've noticed this, but every weigh-in he's late. So it's kind of, he probably doesn't have the time to prepare and to cut down like other fighters do an hour before,
Yeah. Well, that's basically it, Tom. I know you're on a short schedule tonight, so I'll let some of us call in.
Really appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for calling in, mate, and good to speak to you as always.
No worries, mate. See you later.
Cheers. Thanks to Tom for being the first one to call in. I mean, just to sum up what we're talking about there, I think both of those fights at present are in jeopardy. I can understand why, why Kell doesn't necessarily want to take less money than Vargas. I think that's completely understandable, given that he views himself as the bigger name, and it's obviously Kell's going to be the one who's the draw in the UK. But at the same time, Vargas and being a unified title and getting 2 belts is probably going to make Kell a far more attractive option for the big names in the US. So it's a tough decision for him. But I do fear for Kell Brook in terms of his marketability. Kell Brook has never been the most engaging guy outside of the ring. And I think that, combined with the fact he's been in several lackluster fights with slightly lackluster opponents, albeit that he's looked good, has really affected the momentum in his career. And Brook Vargas, definitely that would be a pay-per-view match. Definitely that would be pay-per-view. The amount of money they're having to spend to get Vargas over. Would you be wanting to part with 20 quid of your money towards Kell Brook fight on pay-per-view? I don't know. It would have to have a serious undercard. As for Eubank Golovkin, certainly that's a fight I'd part with 20 quid towards. I can certainly say that. And, I think Eubank Golovkin actually has the potential to do 400,000, maybe even 500,000 pay-per-views, whereas I see Vargas v Brook more as a 100,000 pay-per-view style thing. So, will be interesting really to see. I think the other thing, and I can see Jet has mentioned something similar to this in the chat, is that, let's be honest, Brook Vargas, how many people out there are picking Vargas to win that fight? Is that a real competitive fight? Is that a fight where many people out there think Vargas can get the win? Vargas is a decent fighter. Is he going to go out and beat Kell Brook? Difficulty for me. And, that's an interesting fight. I think if Kell Brook cannot get that fight against Vargas, he really needs to be going to Al Haymon and to the US, because Kell Brook is now in his 30s, I believe. I think he's turned 30. Kell Brook has the longest undefeated streak in current British boxing. And he's just really stagnating. And since the Porter fight, and that's the only real fight of his career, and he had to travel for that one, he has really not got anywhere. You know, he was supposed to be the next Carl Frotz and take over as head of the matchroom stable. But, you know, now he's just fighting these subpar opponents, really. And it's, you know, it's not good. It's not good for Kell Brook. I can see we've got Jet, we got Tom in the live chat. Hope everyone's doing well. As I was saying earlier, we're hitting a podcast today out on a Thursday. If either of you guys want to jump on, let me know, and I'll send you a link to jump on to the hangout. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the sort of pay-per-view fights. I am slightly dubious as to whether either one's going to happen. You know, I know Joshua Parker's now looking like it's going to be January. So doesn't surprise me if Joshua gets one more voluntary in. Doesn't surprise me if AJ's going to, you know, take on somebody of that nature. So, yeah, we'll probably have a voluntary that will certainly be a pay-per-view, you know, before we go into the Parker fight. And then obviously, as I say, Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko is still to be rescheduled. So we will, we'll see what happens there. Eddie Hearn was alluding to the fact that Box Nation were going to try and do that on a pay-per-view. So yeah, that is possible. The pay-per-view schedule could be launched. So I've sent Jet a link. So Jet is going to come on and join us in the pod, on the live chat in a minute. But this is the phone in. So anyone who wants to call in via Skype. You can talk to me. You can talk to Jet as well, and we'll get you straight away live. So do call in. As you can see, lines are very free. So call in, and we'll get you on. The other thing to talk about, and I was just talking about it before Tom called in, is this Erkan Tepper situation. You know, obviously, Tepper is back. You know, I think along with most boxing fans, we're expecting a far more lengthy ban for Erkan Tepper than we received. Got Jet has just joined. He's just stuck himself on mute. Cheers, Jet. I'll bring you in just a second, mate. But yeah, so Tepper went a distance with Derek Rossi, and he won, I think, 7 rounds to 3 and 8 rounds to 2 on the judges' scorecard, something of that nature. So, you know, it's a big surprise. This is, for me, highlights the potential of how performance-enhancing drugs can change the course of someone's career. You know, Tepper was knocking everyone out, comes off the drugs, labours to a points victory over Derek Rossi. Apparently, he didn't look too good, and can't knock out Derek Rossi, who's a guy who got stopped by Audley Harrison in Prize Fighter back in the day, if you guys remember that. Jet, let's bring yourself in, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. Got home from work in time today, so we'll get one of the Monday nighters out of the way.
Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to them. They enjoy the back and forth on a Monday, so you know, why not? I've been meaning to do on myself, but there hasn't really been anything this weekend, so I thought, you know, there's kind of no point. I was going to do one on the Friday night, so I'll probably do one possibly this week or maybe next week if there's a. I think Isaac Chalemba's fighting Kovalev this weekend. Is that me?
Oh, cool. Yeah. I think you're right about that one. I actually think that's quite a good fight. I'm not saying Chalemba's going to win, but I actually think it's a good fight.
No, I do. I totally agree. I think it's a good fight. I think Chalemba's very slippery. That's why. So it will show maybe you know, something new to Kovalev's bow. You know, a different string to his bow possibly. I was actually like, it sounds sad to say this. I was thinking of it myself, but I mean, I was thinking about the pound for pound list that we were discussing on the podcast the other day, and it strikes me as so like I don't know. It just irks me a lot that Kovalev's not number one. I think Kovalev's number one for me. I've said that multiple times. And we were talking about resume. I think it's also not just resume, but I think it's also talent and how you defeat certain types of opponents, because we all know styles make fights. And I mean, John Pascal faced Bernard Hopkins twice, if I'm correct. And not that Hopkins, looked terrible against Pascal or anything like that, but he certainly didn't look as good as, Kovalev versus Pascal twice. I know, Pascal's obviously older, he's had a bit, gone through the wars and whatnot. He's kind of a blown up super middleweight. But I don't know. It's just, I always think that when I think of pound for pound. I mean, Canelo's at number 8, as we were talking about. Yamanaka's, he should not be there. If you have him there, you're probably better off having, Guillermo Rigondeaux there. Inoue is fantastic. I mean, he won a world title, I think, in his, first couple of fights. And he beat Narvaez, who was, one of the reigning champions at the weight for a good couple of years. So, I mean, it really depends what you consider. I don't know if you have any extended thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always maintained pound for pound for me, there's got to be like a resume thing. If you're going to go on eye test for pound, why is Deontay Wilder not on the pound for pound list? Why is I don't know, Conor Benn not on the pound for pound list? I'm exaggerating to make a point, but for me, it's got to be a resume thing. And if we look at the high level of the sport, and look, I'm not going to say Rigondou's got a poor resume. I'm not going to say Golovkin's got a poor resume. But if we're actually talking pound for pound number 1 in the world, then for me, those guys don't have the resume to look at that title.
Yes,
I mean, Golovkin's he's a very good fighter, but let's be honest, who are the best guys he's beaten? Lemieux, Martin Murray,
Matthew Macklin, Daniel Gill.
This is it.
They're at the top level only because there aren't any other elite sort of fighters in the division, if you get me. That's why they're there. So. Yeah,
and I mean, Golovkin's done a great job beating them, and he's pretty much swept through his division. So, I mean, because of that, you can't have him out of the top 10. I think you could certainly make a case for him to be in the top 5. But for me, I can't see him as 1, 2, or 3. And it's the same for Rigondeaux, I'm afraid. I know he's got the pedigree, the amateur background, all the skills, but essentially, he's got Nonito Donaire on his resume. And I know he's got some other good names as well. But if you look at the depth, I mean, it's interesting, because then you've got guys like Danny Garcia and guys like Canelo, who you'd probably say look a lot more beatable than a Golovkin. But their resumes are pretty good in terms of the world-class names. But for me, the creme of the creme in boxing right now, in terms of resume, you've got, obviously, Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, Manny Pacquiao. I don't know, it's a bit of a moot point if he's even still boxing. And then, maybe if you want to include the heavyweights, maybe you could look at Vladimir Klitschko, maybe you could look at Tyson Fury. Those are the kind of names for me.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate. The only thing is, when we're saying resume, I saw Terence Crawford's number 6, and he's beaten his biggest win, if I'm honest, is apart from Yuriorkis Gamboa, is in terms of stature and well-known names. Apart from Gamboa, is Ricky Burns. He's beaten absolutely nobody. So I mean, I struggled to see him at number 6. I understand why he's there. Don't get me wrong, but. Pound for pound is a fantasy sort of. It's a mere fantasy, and it's very hard to see that some of these guys are obviously, if they were pound for pound, they'd match up and that sort of stuff, because there's all mythical matchups and that sort of stuff. I think I've said this to you before off air, and I think pound for pound is a load of rubbish. But I was just wondering, because since we were talking about it the other day, I think it's very hard, as we mentioned Tyson Fury last week and today. I think it's very hard for him. Even though he's world heavyweight champion, he's beaten the man. It's very hard to put him in the sort of, top 10, even though, he is the man. Klitschko has been reigning for 10, 11 years. So, I mean, it is tough. I see where you're hinting at.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think that's the only way to do pound for pound in my estimation, though. And that's why, for me, the likes of the Golovkins, the likes of the Rigondos, the likes of the Lomachenkos are probably still a little bit off, just because they haven't got the elite level wins under their belt. For me, I'd actually have Kovalev at probably number 3, dependent on whether or not Manny Pacquiao is still fighting. If Manny Pacquiao is retired, I'd have him at number 2, but I probably would make Andre Ward number 1. And I'm sure somebody's going to comment in the chat, how can you have him number 1 because of Paul Smith? And the answer is, you don't have him number 1 because of Paul Smith. You have him number 1 because of Carl Frotz and Kessler and, all of those big fights back in the day. He just showed he was still in the game with Paul Smith, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that was just tune up. I think he's fighting Brand. I think we mentioned it the other day, Alexander Brand, in August.
Yes,
that's a sort of another warm-up fight towards the Kovalev fight. So that would be, something that we could possibly gauge and see if he's any good. This guy probably is not any, not on Ward's level, but it'll be good to see how he can cope. I mean,
step down from Sullivan Barrera, that for me.
Sorry?
Step down for Sullivan Barrera.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Yeah, I agree. Barrera was a solid light heavyweight. He beat a couple of guys, Karo Murat, and those sort of, fringe world level opponents. Sorry, and so we'll see. I mean, it's just a test and see how Ward gets on, how he looks, good shape, punching power, anything. I know he locked down Barrera once, but I don't think he's the biggest of punchers anyway. So we'll wait and see. Moving on, I'm expecting we're going to talk about Brook Vargas and GGG Eubank in the podcast. So I'll try and avoid that for now, and we'll move on to a few different things. Mikey Garcia is coming back. What's your thoughts on Mikey Garcia? And how do you think he's going to fare? I think he's fighting at 140 on his comeback, but he's targeting Terry Flanagan next soon.
Yeah, he's been out of the ring far too long for me to be interested in him. And I heard the 140 thing as well. What division was it that he was fighting at previously? Was it 130?
Yeah, super feather. Yeah, super feather.
To me, that doesn't bode well at all. Being out of the ring for 2 years and coming back 10 pounds heavier when you're a small guy. This isn't like, I don't know.
He won a world title at lightweight. I know he's a 3-weight world champion. I think he won a world title at lightweight, but he was so inactive that he ended up having just getting it stripped because he wasn't fighting. The weirdest thing is he was getting good money from Top Rank from some of the purses he was getting. He was getting good money, so I don't know, what's been going on. My cousin told me he was signed to Rock Nation. I think it was. I'm not sure if that's true. So if anyone knows in the chat, please do let one of us know. But no, I mean he's a good talent, but he's had 2.5, 3 years out of the ring now. And it's a really, really tough sell, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. I don't think Terry Flanagan's going to want. I don't think Frank Warren's going to be interested in that fight whatsoever. I don't see that one as being realistic. I heard him calling out Lomachenko actually earlier on in the week, and he's got to make his mind up. Either he wants Lomachenko or he wants to fight at 140. It's not going to be both. But yeah, potentially if he can get a few wins under his belt, it might generate some more interest again, I guess. Yeah, that's spot on, mate. I totally agree with that. Some other stuff. Alado Alvarez, I know you're quite high on him. Apparently, he's got a fight with John Pascal. Possibly. I know coming up soon. They've been in talks. So it's not for the Stevenson mandatory. I think it's just a sort of a fight for Alvarez because he's the mandatory. So what's your thoughts on that? And just a prediction or analysis. Yeah. Is it? I actually heard a rumor, and I haven't read into this, so I might be wrong. I heard a rumor he was going to fight Chad Dawson, mate. Is it John Pascal? It's looking like, is it?
Yeah, well, it's on Boxing Scene. Since I'm on it,
is it really? Yeah.
Because I think I mentioned that to you as well. He was going to fight Chad Dawson and Thomas Williams. I think is it Thomas Williams who beat Rodriguez in the round, one of the better fights. He was supposed, so the winners of those two were supposed to fight for the title, and it's just saying Alado Alvarez is scheduled to may have two fights that separate him from a potential world title. He's looking at that fight, and John Pascal is saying something. We want to gain credibility for if Alado Alvarez, Dawson in July and Pascal in September. So I don't know. That's kind of what it's looking like, 2 fights in a row. But I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, I like Alvarez. I think he's very tidy. I've been following him for a good 2 years or so, and he's always impressed me. He struck me as someone who's really, really well-rounded technically, although probably doesn't have like elite power. As he stepped up in levels, as he's fought I think he fought Chilemba, he has struggled ever so slightly.
I thought he lost the fight against Chilemba, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think you're not the only one there, definitely. I can't remember my precise scorecard from it, but Chilemba made it look difficult. Having said that, Chilemba,
he's a very
tough, he's a hard guy to look good against. So, yeah, I mean, I think him and Stevenson are very good friends. I think that's what I've read. But at this point, I think Stevenson would be a really good fight for him because Stevenson's getting old. He hasn't had a big fight for a good period of time, and I think Stevenson could maybe struggle with some of what Alvarez brings to the table.
Yeah, I think he might struggle with Thomas Williams, actually. Thomas Williams got good power, some decent skills. The thing is, I think if he gets caught by Stevenson, I think he'll probably get knocked out. But I wouldn't rule out Thomas Williams out of the fight. Actually, it's a good fight. 2 big punches. So I'd probably side with Stevenson but Thomas Williams is a live underdog actually.
Absolutely, yeah. I need to watch a bit more of him, but he did look good last time out, definitely.
I was wondering if you heard Danny Jacobs in the past week. He's been talking about Billy Joe Saunders and how he doesn't want Billy Joe Saunders, and he mentions Golovkin, but he doesn't mention that he's his mandatory, and the WBA are planning to enforce the mandatory on Golovkin. So they're mandated to face for the one WBA belt. What's your thoughts on that? Since it kind of sounds like he's ducking him.
Yeah, I think that fight has been there for Danny Jacobs for quite some time. Yeah. And I think if Danny Jacobs wanted the fight, he could have had it previously. Having said that, not to put too much pressure on him individually, because nobody seems to want the fight apart from Chris Eubank, dependent on who you believe on that one. But yeah, Danny Jacobs is a good fighter. He's there or thereabouts. I don't really see him having anything whatsoever to trouble Golovkin. At least someone like Eubank or someone like Billy Joe Saunders. I'm not saying you'd pick either of those guys to beat Golovkin at all, but the styles that they bring are a bit different. You could see them having attributes maybe that could make something more interesting. Whereas for me, the Danny Jacobs Golovkin fight is one that I see as less interesting, to be frank.
Yeah, interestingly, loads of people like on forums and that sort of stuff, they actually want the Danny Jacobs fight more than the other contenders.
Do they? Yeah.
It's quite, well, from what I gauge, so it is quite interesting. I mean, for me, Danny Jacobs, he cuts a lot of weight. I mean, he rehydrates to about 175. So, I think his punch resistance isn't very good. Obviously, he's facing Sergio Mora, I think, next in a rematch. So,
he's not, is he?
Yeah, no, he is. It's been confirmed.
Oh my God! I heard he was going to fight Andy Lee.
Yeah, I heard that. He said it. I can't remember where I read it, but he said we wanted Andy Lee. It didn't come through. We wanted Billy Joe Saunders. We wanted to beat his ass, but he didn't want none of it, and something like that. And then obviously Eubank was number 2, I think, in a WBA, number 2 in WBC, and the interim champion is Blanco. And obviously, so he didn't mention him. He mentioned Golovkin. I'm ready in 18 months to face Golovkin or something on the lines of that. So I just thought it was a blatant duck. And going back to the Billy Joe Saunders thing, I think Billy Joe Saunders would beat him quite handily. You know, Jacobs has good power, but for me, if you just contrast, you know, I know styles make fights, as I said before, but if you contrast one of their neutral opponents, Jared Fletcher lost in 2 or 3 rounds to Billy Joe Saunders, and you know, he got stopped pretty hard against Saunders. I think he made it to the final round against Danny Jacobs, so it kind of, you know, sets the pace and sets the ball rolling. I mean, I can't see Jacobs doing anything to trouble Billy Joe Saunders. I know you're a big Billy fan, so
yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are.
Jacobs is pretty decent. There's a bit of an echo.
Yeah.
You whack yourself on a second.
Yeah, one sec.
Cheers. Hopefully, yeah, that seems to have sorted it. Yeah, you know, Billy Joe is a class above skill-wise for me, but realistically, Danny Jacobs would be, at this stage, the biggest test of Billy Joe's career. I mean, Billy Joe's beaten Andy Lee, he's beaten Chris Eubanks. These are 2 big names. These are 2 big punchers. They're strong guys. But you'd say Danny Jacobs is probably more proven than either of those at this stage. Danny Jacobs' win over Peter Quillen is certainly a bigger win than anything I'm aware Andy Lee has, or anything I'm aware Chris Eubank Jr. has. So it's an interesting fight, and certainly one that would be of interest if it were to be made on the Canelo Liam Smith undercard. Whether or not that will go ahead, I don't know. I will just say, just to anyone watching, Jet and I are on the Google Hangout. So if somebody wants to call in on Skype, there is still space to call in. It's not like normally when the Skype line is busy. We can get 3 of us on this, just in case anyone else does want to call in. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I've heard rumours that Saunders will fight Hassan and Dam on that Smith Canelo undercard, and that's actually an interesting fight, I think. Oh, we've just got Nicholas calling in, Jet, so I'll just bring him in.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Nicholas. How you doing?
How you doing, Tom? You okay?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. I've got Jet on the line as well. How's things with you?
Yeah, not too bad. I have been listening in, Tom. Yeah, not too bad. How are you keeping, all right?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Same old, same old. What's going on in the boxing world for you at the minute, then, mate?
Well, with the news, the latest, things happening between, Kell, Brook and Vargas, haven't been confirmed yet. Eubank Jr, they were supposed to have a meeting one day after that interview on IFL on Monday, and that still hasn't been confirmed yet. Chris Senior trying to pass the buck onto Sky, which some of the points were valid, but was that just a loophole to create a distraction for him not wanting to fight? And a few topics, Kell, Brook and Chris Eubank. If you want to indulge into any of them, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Eddie Hearn did say that he would know whether the Eubank Golovkin fight was going to happen last Monday. Obviously, it's been a week. We still haven't heard anything. The 2 of them have been back and forth a bit on Twitter. But, yeah, I mean, for me, I've got to say, a lot of people have leapt to Senior's defence and said he's just trying to get the most money for the fighter. The money should be with the fighter, not the TV broadcaster. For me, I'm less sure I buy that. I think this is a way of the Eubanks trying to come up with an excuse, to be frank. That pay-per-view model has got to be the best possible payout there for his son. So for me, if they wanted the fight, they do it on the pay-per-view model. That's the same model that made Anthony Joshua $3 million for a British title fight. It's the same model that made Charles Martin $5 million for a world title defense. That's where the money is, surely.
Yeah, I had a rumor, guy, to you both. I had a rumor that Chris Eubank Jr was getting close to £3 million for this Golovkin fight if it does go through. So the money's been sorted, but I don't know what the hold up with the contracts are. So that's something for you guys to digest, I guess.
Yeah, I heard that as well, Jet, actually. 3 million.
A lot of money, man. That's a lot. Nicholas, what do you think of that? You reckon, you know, Eubank wants to fight, or do you reckon he's ducking Golovkin? What do you reckon, mate?
Well, for £3 million, that's got to be his. What it is his highest bid. What did he get offered for the Billy Joe Saunders rematch? Was it nearly $1 million?
700 grand.
Yeah, that's what I heard. 700-800 grand is nothing after cutting your, you know, training costs and whatnot.
Yeah, well, there you go. So $3 million. Do I think Chris Eubank is scared of Golovkin? No, not really. I think it's his father with the business end, maybe, or you know, his father, you know, claiming that he sees something in Golovkin, like weaknesses that Junior can exploit. But for £3 million is, I don't know, obviously the ins and outs of the contract and stuff. But I don't know why it haven't been announced yet. Whether they have signed, and just haven't come out with it. I was just going to ask, what do you think of Junior's chance against Golovkin? Offensively, he's good, but what do you think about him being open, the shots and stuff like that? His speeds, they say speed kills, but not all the time, does it? You know, with Golovkin's accuracy and power, do you think Junior has a chance if he sticks to strict tactics and improves his defense?
I think the key is distance, mate. If Eubank Jr., if Golovkin can get the jab going to keep Eubank Jr. on the outside, Eubank Jr. has literally no chance. I mean, the guy is yet to convince me he can block a jab. You know, you see guys like Tom Doran countering him sweetly from range. You know, if Golovkin can do what he did to Lemieux, this isn't a fight. It's a sparring session. If, however, Eubank is strong enough and tough enough to get inside, it does become more interesting, because I have never seen someone put it on Golovkin the way that Eubank Jr. puts it on other fighters. And usually, and to be fair, Eubank has made this point, usually other fighters don't put it on Golovkin because they're scared. They back off him. They circle. They try and avoid, you know, whereas Eubank Jr. has to come to win, because he can't jab with Golovkin and box with Golovkin. What do you reckon, Jet?
Yeah, mate, spot on. That's his only way to win, I think. And I think he knows that. Him and his team, his dad, everyone knows that. That if he comes to, you know, put it on Golovkin and rough him up and, you know, use that slick uppercut, those sort of, you know, fighting skills, not boxing skills, fighting skills. I think that's his, you know, key attribute to try and win this fight. I don't think he'll win the fight, but if he can consistently get on his chest and just be an absolute nuisance, you never know. I mean, I don't think he'll get the decision out there, but he could, you know, fight valiantly for, you know, a good couple of rounds. I just find it hard with him being defensively inept, as Nicholas said. I just think it's going to be really, really hard for him to keep Golovkin's jab off him, and Golovkin's jab is, you know, fantastic, as we all know. You know, he can dictate the pace with that. I mean, it's similar to, I wouldn't compare it to George Groves, but as in, you know, it's just even more elite. I mean, the things he can do with it, his footwork as well. It's hard to see Eubank, you know, going a distance with that sort of stuff. I mean, even Martin Murray, as he said, everyone changes the game plan, and you know, you have a plan A till you get hit. Martin Murray had a plan A, try and be rough and tough, and he started running for about 11 rounds. He literally got on his bike and just moved the whole fight. So, I mean, it really depends. But I'd be interested in seeing it. But as I said before, I think it's very, very. I'm very skeptical that will actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question is Eubank can put it on Golovkin. We haven't actually seen anyone do that to Golovkin. We don't know how Golovkin will stand up to it. You know, Golovkin theoretically has a very good chin. He's shown a good chin, but the times he's taken punches have been from the likes of Dominic Wade and the likes of Willie Monroe Jr. You know, if Eubank can put round after round after round in, working him, hitting him with the uppercut, hitting him to the body, you know, it's not totally out of the question. Eubank does have some advantages in there. He probably is the more naturally athletic. He's certainly a lot bigger than Golovkin. You know, Golovkin is a small middleweight, more like a light middleweight, whereas Eubank is more like a super middleweight. He's probably got a big size and strength advantage. But you'd have to say Golovkin is an overwhelming favourite because Golovkin so good at boxing, Eubank so defensively frail from the outside.
Yeah, spot on, mate. What's your thoughts on that, Nicholas?
Well, as you said, it's regards to no one putting on Golovkin. I have to disagree in one sense, where no one else has been able to put it on him. But I think every experienced coach and boxer knows that no one's put it on him. I don't think they're able to put it on him. I think that's the difference. I think like Curtis Stevens tried to put it on him, but as soon as he felt that, extraordinary power, that they're just, so shocked how hard he hits that they, go into a shower straight away. So I think all the boxers and trainers know to put it on him. There's a question of to put it on him, you've got to walk in, and his distance is so good and his counter punches that as soon as he lands one clean on them, that it hurts them that much that they're just too afraid to go with a game plan and put it on him because, they're going to get knocked out, whoever puts on him, unless they got exceptional defense skills, even if they got good offense. I know Eubank's got he seems to have a decent chin, and he has got, as you said, with his jab, with is Lemieux. Lemieux's only small. I don't know what Lemieux's reach is in comparison to juniors, so I expect the junior probably have the reach on him, but that don't always mean that you're going to get your jab in before the other person. Depends on the speed and stuff. So I think other people haven't been able to put it on him. Not that they don't want to, it's just as soon as they go to, they feel the power and try to survive, basically. I think that's the problem.
I think you're yeah, that's good analysis, actually. I mean, Eubank is what he is. He's an athlete. He's not a a boxer's boxer or whatnot. And some of the things that he comes up with in the ring, the right uppercut, and he dips his left shoulder to get it up, and some of the stuff offensively he does is fantastic. I just think defensively he's just dodgy, and as you said, Golovkin, his timing and his accuracy are two big reasons why his power is even better than what it probably is, because he just catches you clean, and I think it's going to be really hard for Eubank to get in. I know he'll definitely have the height advantage, the natural weight advantage, and probably the range, but it's going to be hard. I think Ronnie Davis and Chris Eubank Sr. are going to have a blockbuster plan in the corner to guide him to Junior to victory. But anything's possible in boxing. There's been a fair few upsets recently, so you never know, really.
Yeah, this is it. You never know. It will be a great fight, regardless of who I think's going to win. It will be a great fight. Yeah. What are you saying on Brook Vargas, Nicholas?
Is that what, as regards to Kell Brook not signing the contract? Yeah, is that what you're on about, Tom?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bit hit and miss at the present, isn't it? Like, there seems to be some rumours that it is going to happen, some rumours that it's off. Don't know whether we're coming or going.
Well, it's been dragging out a little bit. This fight's been on the talk with Vargas signed the contract for a while. I totally understand Kell Brook's point of view, being, as you say, the A side, his country, him selling the tickets, he's much more well known in the UK than Vargas. So, you could understand from his point of view why he wants, at least the equal or bigger split than Vargas, because in this country he brings more to the table. But I feel, to be honest, I feel a little bit sorry for him, because people say, he's been fighting bums and he's rubbish because of that. But if he's been fighting B-level fighters, or if you B or C-level fighters, and he's been destroying them, clearly that tells you that he's an A-level fighter. So I don't think that he's rubbish just because he's been fighting bums. Doesn't mean he isn't elite. As you say, Sean Porter against Keith Herman, if you contrast and compare his performance to Kell's, I think Kell did a better job in the sense where he didn't take as much damage as Thurman did. So, I can understand Kell Brook's point of view, to be honest. I think, I don't know what his contract is, but Eddie Hearn haven't been delivering a beat for him, let's be honest, in comparison to the US welterweights. It's a big market, so I don't know why Eddie Hearn haven't been put his hand in his pocket, to get in these big fights.
Yeah, I hear you. And it is frustrating for Kell, because obviously Kell is one of the best, if not the best, at 147. But It's the same you could say for Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux is one of the best fighters in the world, and he's fighting on a Frank Warren undercard. Essentially, this is a business. It comes down to money, and Kell Brook has yet to prove that he can be as big a draw as the likes of an Anthony Joshua or the likes of a. I'll just have to interrupt for an important announcement. We actually have Chris Eubank in the chat, and Chris Eubank has written, "I'll win, trust me." So good luck to Chris Eubank. Glad to hear you're a fan of the channel. But yeah, just going back to that, I have to say, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Do I see Kell Brook selling, 300,000 or 400,000 pay-per-views and justifying the expenditure? Possibly, possibly not.
I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, mate. Jessie Vargas, I mean, I put it in the chat a few minutes ago. He's not beaten anyone of note, to be honest. Let's put it that way. Saddam Ali, he was a prospect, and I didn't pick Saddam Ali to win. So, yeah, I'll give myself a pat on the back. I picked Jessie Vargas to win, I think, going back to the prediction video. But, yeah, just based on experience, Saddam Ali was a prospect. I think he drew he got a split decision against Josecito Lopez, who was actually beating Andre Berto a few fights ago before he got stopped. And, I mean, if you're struggling with that sort of opponent, I mean, Andre Berto was struggling with that opponent. We saw what happened when, obviously, he faced Mayweather. I know Mayweather does that to everyone, but, Jessie Vargas is what he is. Up until, the early sort of 12th round ending, he was losing handily anyway against Tim Bradley. So, I haven't really seen anything from Jessie Vargas to suggest that he's really going to trouble Kell Brook. Kell, as I said, he's you guys have put it right, both you and Nicholas. I mean, he's really struggling to get the marquee fight. He's, as Amir Khan said, he's the king of mandatories. So, yeah, it's a tough sell for him at Bramall Lane. Bramall Lane will be, is a pretty decent sized stadium. It will be about half empty, I reckon. So, and it'll be pay-per-view. I don't think many people will want to bother paying for that. So it's painful. I think just Kell needs to really relocate to the States. And, even if it means having to face Porter again, go for it. Why not? He's not losing out on anything. He's facing, a top 5, top 10 legitimate welterweight. Danny Garcia's over there. I don't think he'll travel. Keith Thurman, maybe. Keith Thurman's still over there. He could fight him. Tim Bradley, Manny Pacquiao if he continues to fight. Errol Spence is facing Leonard Bondu, from what I hear, next for the IBF mandatory. So potential win of that could be over in the States if it's Errol Spence. I mean, Adrian Broner, as we spoke about a few months ago. But I mean, it's hard to see where Kell Brook goes. As I said, he's out of options for me. Canelo, again, a possibility, but I can't see it. I mean, it'd be a good fight if it does happen, but I mean, maybe similar to Liam Smith, he'd probably have more of a chance than Liam Smith, but Canelo doesn't get really any credit from it.
Yeah. Nicholas, I've got to be off by 9 o'clock, mate. So is there any other topics you want to get out quickly?
Well, I think we discussed all of Kell Brooks. I think he's the top 1 or 2 in the welterweight division. Would you say he's out of him and Thurman at the moment? I'd probably slightly edge towards Kell Brook if he gets the Vargas fight and wins and gets some better opposition. And one more thing, Tom. Was that really Chris Eubank Jr. in the conversation, the live chat, or was that like
I think it's highly unlikely, but it's not completely impossible, but I would say highly, highly unlikely. But you never know. You never know. I've met Chris Eubank twice, so maybe he does tune in.
Oh yeah, one more thing I was going to quickly say. What do you think of Ward's opposition as regards to Kovalev? I mean, Kovalev's facing Chilenko, which is like a world class. But he's world fringe fighting in comparison to Ward facing Branch. What sort of preparation would you say that is for Kovalev? Paul Smith, Brand, or like Sullivan Pereira was a decent fighter, but Alexander Brand in preparation for Kovalev, they got similarities. I haven't seen Brand fight. Has he got amazing jab, good distance, good puncher like Kovalev, or is it totally different styles? I don't know much about Brand, but I would say Kovalev.
I'm not going to pretend I've watched the guy's back catalogue, but what I would say is, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, useless, mate.
Well, I don't think that does Ward any favours if he wants to face Kovalev, to face someone that's useless to Utah, especially since the Super 6, how inactive he's been, and with his injuries and stuff. I don't think he's doing himself no favours, no.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Chris Eubank has commented again, saying, it was nice to hearing your opinions on the fight, but I will win. So it might be him, Nicholas. You never know. But yeah, it's not doing him any favours. No, I actually thought the Sullivan Barrera fight last time out, I thought Barrera was a pretty decent opponent, actually. But, you know, it's hard to know, isn't it? It's just hard to know. But, yeah, I mean, certainly a Chilemba or Cleverly, you know, someone of that nature would have been a better prep, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, I totally agree. Oh, did you have anything more to say, Tom?
No, I got to wrap it up soon because I'm meeting someone at 9, Nicholas. But really appreciate you calling in, mate, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, good speaking to you, Tom. I'll speak to you soon. Nice chatting to both of you. Yeah. All right then, Tom?
All the best, Nicholas. Catch you later.
Yeah. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Jet, I'll give you the last word, pal. Is there anything any other topics or anything you want to say before we sign off?
I was going to say something about Luke Campbell, but it's not the most important one. Potential matchup with Dejan Zlatikanin, but we can talk about it before we go on air on Thursday.
Yeah, sounds good. And yeah, just to everyone watching, I think we've got about 50 people. Podcast 8:30 on Thursday night. Usually Wednesdays, but it's Thursday night for 1 week and 1 week only. So if you've been watching live, do check out Jet's channel, which is the Boxing Discussions channel. Hit the subscribe button on Jet's channel. Hit the like button on this one. Do us both a favour. And yeah, thanks very much, everyone. I hope you all have a good evening, and we will wrap it up there. So yeah, cheers all.